What's good, everybody? Here's the countdown. And we are live. What's good, Josh? Your man, DL Sink. Welcome. Early edition, I Really Want to Know podcast, man. It's Tuesday, the 16th. And, we're talking about what's going on with the Charlie Kirk case, what's going on in particular, Kas Patel. Kas Patel is really jacking this up, bro. Really. I mean, this is what happens when you put incompetent people in important roles. Like, there's no way in hell that this guy should be the head of the FBI. Like, who is this dude anyway? We're gonna have to do a deep dive on that. Like, where did he come from? They keep calling him a YouTuber. I mean, even if he was a YouTuber, man, he was an incompetent YouTuber. But let's get into what's going on. Some of the latest, the ongoing information on the Charlie Kirk case. We're gonna be breaking down a video from Breaking Points, and then another YouTuber who talks about, how the weapon could have been transported without being seen, and, infield, exfield, that kind of stuff. So let's get into it. And we are live. What's good, y'all? Welcome to the I Really Want to Know podcast, y'all. Get some indeed, man. I'm still all over the place when it comes to streaming, but there's so much going on with this Charlie Kirk case, and I think I'm going to jump on early more than a handful of times just to kind of keep up to date with what's going on and, throw my 2 cents in there. But it's a lot going on with this particular case. And, the people on the right just don't want to accept the fact that a weirdo with a rifle was able to commit such a horrible act, which plenty of people are proving with a little bit of practice on your rifle, a small plan, and looking the right way, you can do this sort of thing, bro. And it's sad. And, the right is looking for every kind of conspiracy they can come up with, probably because they can find some sort of comfort in that. What was a conspiracy? It was the powers that be. It was a big group behind this, and it was well thought out. And this kid is going to be a patsy. I haven't heard anyone say that yet, but at some point, I'm sure that's going to come out. But this is where we are, bro. And I'm just here to tell you, I'm not buying any conspiracy theories on this one. It just doesn't make any. The conspiracy theories don't make sense, but it does make sense to me that a weirdo with some emotional, mental issues and access to a rifle, for a long distance firearm, with a little bit of luck, can have hit this type of shot that he did hit. First round, cold bore. We'll get into all that. We're going to start with Breaking Points. You guys know the Breaking Points is my favorite independent media source. I really enjoy watching the back and forth between Saga and Crystal. One is left, one is right. And, Crystal's view and Saga's view, they definitely oppose on most things. But to me, it seems that these guys both accept common sense, and it just makes sense to them, and they'll come to that common ground in the middle, which is the way the entire country really should operate when it comes to these sort of things. And it's not just on like this particular case or this issue, but their politics, bro. They'll disagree on some stuff, and there's a couple things where they'll just agree to disagree, but most of the stuff, probably 65, 75% of the stuff they agree on, or they can find common ground. That's how politics is supposed to work. If we had people with that mindset in elected office throughout the country, at the local, state, and federal level, most of our issues as Americans would be taken care of. Like, we would have some form of universal health care. We would have a living wage. We would have rights and protections for the workers and for owners. You know, we wouldn't be paying the most money for prescription drugs that anyone pays on the planet. So, I mean, if elected officials were to actually do their jobs, hammer stuff out, come to common ground and make things work, you know, America will be a whole lot better. But here's the thing. If that were to happen, the 1% wouldn't have as much money. That money's got to come from somewhere, and it's coming from the bottom. It's going up. It's not going from the top and trickling down. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about what's going on with Kas Patel and his case, and how Kas Patel, who is completely incompetent and should not be in this role, may be jeopardizing this case down the road. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. But yeah, let's jump on right into it. Saga and Crystal, hold on 1 second, guys. Let me adjust my light. Got this one light right next to me, man. I keep it bright. Let's jump in here and let's check out what Saga and Crystal are talking about on Breaking Points. Here we go.
Morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Have an amazing show for everybody today. What do we have, Crystal?
Indeed, we do. Lots to get to this morning. So we've got the very latest with regard to the investigation into Charlie Kirk's assassin. We're also going to break down this fight between Candace Owens and Bill Ackman over whether or not pressure was applied to Charlie Kirk towards the end of his life with regard to Israel. There's a lot to get to there. Also, we don't want to miss other news that is breaking in the world. Trump blew up another Venezuela boat yesterday as we seemingly edge even closer to a regime change operation there. He also apparently had a heads up about that Israeli strike on Qatar. They're denying it, but Israeli officials leaked to Barack Ravid, and it is very likely, as we said on that day, that Trump would have a heads up with regard to that. So we'll break that down for you. This also happens as the Gaza City ground invasion has begun. So lots to get to there. We're also going to take a look at, we didn't get to this yesterday because we talked too much today. We will get to it. Zoran picking up some new endorsers. And actually we had some news as well. Andrew Cuomo now trying to distance himself from his previous positions on Israel, which is a pretty interesting turn of events. And I've got a monologue today. I'm going to be taking a look at the rise of the black pill killers. So putting together some of the recent school shootings and what we know about Tyler Robinson, and asking if this is a broader societal phenomenon that we now are going to be dealing with, which is quite terrifying, frankly.
I'm definitely going to have to check that out at some point. I'm not going to be able to watch it at this moment. Obviously, we're doing something, and then I have to go get my daughter. Like, I'm kind of into my afternoon schedule here in a little bit. But later on this evening, I definitely want to hear what she has to say about the black pill thing. It's funny how they're not saying incel anymore, right? It's no longer incel. It's black pill. Trying to tell y'all, bro, if they're saying black pill, that means that they're talking red pill as well. And then, so like I said, this whole pill thing has gone mainstream, you know, for various reasons. But the Venezuelan thing, another boat. Wow. You know, America says we're doing this in international waters. We're going after these people. They're talking regime change. Certainly that's, you know, a possibility. But you look at what's going on in Venezuela. Don't forget about Mexico and the drug cartels and U.S. military incursions possibly there. You know what I mean? Don't forget about Ukraine and what's going on with NATO versus Russia, right? Gaza, they talked about, they started their ground invasion. Israel is already looking to attack Iran, and any other nation is going to support or protect the Houthis and any other enemies of Israel, right? And meanwhile, China is sitting back, watching the whole thing, looking at Taiwan like it's a big old piece of steak. You know what I mean? So there's a lot going on, man. Let's continue.
I'm looking forward to that. Thank you to everybody who's been supporting the show. Really means a lot, and crazy
like,
times.
share, subscribe, all that good stuff, guys.
Get, as Crystal said, to the Kash Patel latest clown show that we have seen on display. It's absolutely shocking, honestly, to even see the way that this man is conducting himself in public. And it would all be a joke if it not only was he not the top law enforcement officer in the entire country, but his public statements, remember, can all be used at trial should Tyler Robinson contest his innocence at trial. Defense lawyers and others potentially taking advantage of all of the misstatements and some of the timeline and other things that Kash Patel has now laid out that make absolutely no sense. So here is the latest from the FBI director Kash Patel in a Fox News interview yesterday, which was totally all over the map. Let's take a listen.
All right, FBI Director Kash Patel joins us now. I can't imagine, Mr. Director, how busy you've been, especially show.
And keep in mind, guys, the correspondent, that Fox dude who's on the right side of the screen is talking right now. That's the guy that suggested that we euthanize homeless people and people who have mental issues against their will. He's still talking on Fox.
Kirk isn't just a impactful person, he's your friend. So I understand that. But having said that, people are looking to you to find out is how big this investigation is going to be. Can you tell us the latest?
Absolutely. It's so good to be with you. And you're right. My personal feelings and relationship with Charlie, I have a job to do for the American people, and I'm committed to do it for President Trump.
So, yeah, that's a first statement that we have here from Mr. Patel. But the most important stuff that really starts to actually break down are some of the misstatements in particular about the investigation. You'll remember that if you look at this, quote, official timeline and more that's been laid out by the government, there really is a lot of stuff, Crystal, which doesn't make sense. So, for example, we have things about the screwdriver and whether Tyler Robinson was able to assemble the rifle up on the roof, disassemble it, take it down while jumping off, reassemble it, stash it in the woods before it's eventually found. This is also comporting with claims of finding DNA evidence on the said towel, but we don't actually see the towel. We've looked at the video in which it was wrapped up. Remember also, you know, the official narrative is about driving in, changing clothes. We don't have photos specifically about what those clothes look like. I could go on. I mean, there's so many more that he has laid out here, and he is completely unable to lay that out and answer some of these questions. Take a listen to that.
Before Kash gets into this, man, Kash Patel, you guys got to understand that Sagar is conservative as they come, but he's not MAGA. Right? I look at someone like Sagar, he's old school GOP. It's not MAGA. Right? I mean, Sagar has a personal relationship with the vice president. Like, he knows JD, and he's constantly tearing JD down for stupid stuff that he does. He's constantly, you know, getting on the administration, the current administration, for the dumb stuff that they're doing. Just like now, he's tearing down this, you know, the head of the FBI, which he should. So just a lot of people look at this breaking point and like, oh, just another liberal, you know, mainstream media, fake news outlet. Nah, bro. Like, Sagar's on the right. Crystal's on the left. She's deep on the left. Right. So I just want to throw that in there.
Ground on the around 5 p.m. local on September 11th was walk the entire crime scene, including the foots the suspect himself took. And what we learned was there was evidence, DNA evidence that could be collected and had been collected, including a screwdriver that was found on the rooftop. Also, we went over to the scene in the wooded area where the firearm was discarded, and the firearm had a towel wrapped around it. And I can report today that the DNA hits from the towel that was wrapped around the firearm and the DNA on the screwdriver are positively processed for the suspect in custody.
Remember about that screwdriver.
You know, why would the head of FBI be there? Like, why are you on this case? Why is he there? Right. So, you know, this Kash Patel thing reminds me of J. Edgar Hoover when Hoover was young and, you know, getting in there and wants to create the FBI, and Hoover would be places that he had no place being. Why? He wanted to get in front of the camera. He wanted to make it look as if he was the man. He would take photo ops. You know, like J. Edgar Hoover was, you know, there are a lot of people that debate this, but I would say that J. Edgar Hoover was deep in the closet. I think J. Edgar Hoover has, you know, struggles within. You know, he kept this handsome young blind guy by his side at all times. Who was also supposed to be an FBI guy. You know, you can get into that on your own if you want to look into it. But J. Edgar Hoover was probably the first law enforcement person that learned how to wield the power of the media. And he did it all the time. And it looks like Kash Patel is doing, you know, a poor version of trying to copy that. But let's listen to what Sagar has to say.
screwdriver, the fact that it was then reassembled, or it was found assembled in the woods, remains highly relevant. Another reason why that initial thing about Kash Patel and his personal relationship with Charlie Kirk is that any defense lawyer could say that there was a personal matter and potentially corrupted the investigation. It is a bit complicated because as of right now, it's not a federal case. It is being handled largely by Utah authorities, although they are looking for potential ways for it to go federal. But all of this matters in a court of law. The fact that the timeline does not match up with the, just doesn't pass basic muster. For, the idea is that you had an outfit of which we have not yet seen, and allegedly is which the suspect is identified. This reassembly is a major question for the investigation. The charging documents have not yet been made public, so we're not yet clear to the official timeline that will be contested in a court of law. And we haven't even yet got to the alleged note that Robinson confessed to. Anything you want to say before we play that?
Just on the screwdriver. Yeah. So what Kash Patel is saying there is screwdriver was found on the roof, presumably, where the killer was stationed when he took that fatal shot. The reason why there's a lot of questions around this is because they released that video of him jumping off the roof where, look, it's blurry. It's difficult to tell exactly what's going on there, but you can't visibly see the firearm. So was it disassembled? Exactly. And then if the screwdriver is on the roof, but the gun is found reassembled, how did he do that? Mm-hmm. So those are some of the pieces, that raise question marks that the government's going to have to fill in of exactly, okay, what was he wearing? Where was he wearing? How did he change? How did he assemble? How did he reassemble? Where was the gun? Presumably the gun was in that backpack in the stairwell photos, all of those sorts of things. They will have to answer, and any, good defense attorney is going to be asking these same questions and trying to poke holes in that narrative. And I said this yesterday, but I really go and watch the OJ documentary if you want to know how this is done and how an effective defense attorney can pick apart the government's narrative. To your point about the personal relationship, another thing that they'll be arguing is that this was politicized from the beginning. From the beginning, they wanted to pin this on Tyler Robinson. They were looking to do it. Even the open discussion here of the DNA evidence could be problematic because that type of evidence has to be introduced with an expert. It's not a yes or no, it's his DNA or not. It's a probabilistic question. So even things like that can end up coming back to bite you when you're in a court of law. Now, I suspect.
She's right. Like that chain of custody thing, and Kash Patel said he was there. When was he there? Did they leave the evidence there for him to come and see? Could you imagine if a defense attorney gets in there in a trial and is able to somehow get all the evidence regarding the rifle kicked? Because it was tainted somehow, and the DNA evidence kicked. And it is like, oh, you can't even use this. Could you imagine if that happened? Like, okay, we have to omit this information now because it was tainted and this and that and blah, blah, blah. So you can't introduce the rifle, the DNA evidence with the screwdriver and the towel bit. You can't, that's inadmissible now because of the chain of custody or whatever. Could you imagine if something like that happened, bro? That would be the whole case right there. That's the case.
That they probably are going to have sufficient evidence to be able to convince a jury of his peers. But it's worth raising the question. It's also an indication just that Kash doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He doesn't have any idea the way that he could be screwing over their case here. He shouldn't be involved in evidence collection. He is not the person to be doing that, but he wants to make himself look like he's doing something, like he's on the scene, like he's an important part of this so that he can save his own job. As we discussed yesterday, he is under fire and the knives are out for him within the administration.
There are two separate things. First of all, Tyler Robinson's potential defense. He's not cooperating with authorities. Dan Bongino said that he's currently placed on suicide watch. So obviously we're all going to be watching that very carefully. There's that. But there's also, look, this was a highly public figure for whom the questions around the assassination all should be answered specifically if you don't want conspiracy and other questions to arise, and especially if it's going to become a political flagship. And that's especially why this is important here with Kash Patel's latest claim that a note was found in which Tyler Robinson allegedly confessed that he had murdered Charlie Kirk. However, he now says that that note did not exist, but that they can prove it does exist, or it did exist, but they can prove that it used to exist, even though it does no longer exist right now. See, I'm getting tripped up because his own language is so unclear.
It's impossible to even discern what he's actually saying.
We'll play it here.
Bro, can you imagine the dude's up there saying, we got to know that he confessed to doing this, that he gave to his friends. Well, we don't have it, but it exists. Well, it doesn't exist now, but it existed at some point. And we're sure we got it because we use these tactics. Trust me, we got to know. Could you imagine? That's not getting into the trial at all.
Not to show you.
We'll play it here for yourself, and here's your takeaway. Let's take a listen.
The written note, we believe, what did exist, and we have evidence to show what was in that note, which is, and I'm going to summarize, basically saying, the suspect wrote a note saying, I have the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it. That note was written before the shooting. Evidence of its existence, we now have learned, existed before the shooting, was in the location, in the suspect and partner's home. But we have since learned that the note, even though it has been destroyed, we have found forensic evidence of the note, and we have confirmed what that note says because of our aggressive interview posture at the FBI.
Our aggressive interview posture at the FBI. Interview with whom? Where was the note? Who, what are you saying? Did you conduct an interview with the trans boyfriend, with a roommate, with members of the Discord? Where did these messages come from? How was such note, given forward? And you're putting this forward before any of the charging documents. I mean, this is the problem with not just the podcaster FBI, but it really is just the rank and competence and also just wanting stardom and appearing on Fox News.
Right.
Nobody asked you to go on Fox News for 15 minutes.
And again, Sager's on the right? Sager is on the right. And he's saying these things, which are just facts. What note? Interrogated by who? Who did you talk to? Did they bother to record this interrogation? Did they Mirandize these people? Oh, bro, think about that. Think about that. What if they never Mirandized the people that he's talking about in this interview? Never read them their rights. Imagine that. Imagine that. They never read them their rights. What if it comes out that, these people had access to the Discord server, or, you said you had a note, but we need the physical note so people could look at it and say, yeah, this is the handwriting of the person we think that did the killing. Completely messed up, man. Completely messed up. All right, brother Dino Dinosaur's in the building. What's good, fam? Bro, what's going on across the pond, man? Like, what's going on over there? It seems like this murder, this case, has implications all the way over in UK, man. There's a lot of, it's a lot of noise going on over there about, a lot of anti-immigration and all this kind of stuff, man. Stay safe over there, bro. It's like the whole world's falling apart. That's what it looks like. But the world is always really falling apart. It's just we're not paying attention to certain parts of the world that are falling apart faster than the others. But we're paying attention to this because this is all first world stuff, man. But good to see you, bro. But please stay careful over. Stay very, very careful over there where you are.
Nobody, absolutely nobody in the world said that you needed to do that.
Yeah.
You are corrupting a law enforcement investigation, dramatically confusing the public, and potentially influencing the defense of a killer or alleged killer who we all want to see brought to justice. So every single way that you square it, it's nuts. And again, it just fits not only with the incompetence, but with a lot of the misstatements, which really could come back to haunt them at trial. The latest one also is on Discord. So there's a new claim from the FBI that Tyler Robinson actually did confess. Potentially, this is what Kash meant. We don't know because nobody even asked him, that he allegedly confessed to the murder of Charlie Kirk while he was in this Discord chat. Here are the details that they said yesterday, but they haven't released said messages. Let's take a listen.
about 2 hours before he was turned into authorities. This, according to the Washington Post. We are working to independently confirm this as well. But the Washington Post says that Tyler Robinson, the 22-year-old suspect charged in Charlie Kirk's murder, confessed. And I want to read this according to the Washington Post, writing on Discord, that social media chat group that the FBI says he used, quote, "Hey guys, I have bad news for you all. It was me at UVU yesterday. I'm sorry for all of this." This coming from the Washington Post. Now, this comes as DOJ officials began late last week and over the weekend looking at the potential for at least one federal charge. No guarantee they'll get there. A department spokesperson declined comment, but a source familiar said investigators are not ruling anything out at this time, especially his online gaming presence, his chats, as we just mentioned. Who was he talking to?
The reason why this is very confusing is, remember, Discord initially put out a statement that the statements made by the Utah governor that he had helped plan, Tyler Robinson allegedly helped plan the assassination of Charlie Kirk on Discord. Discord put out statements that those messages don't exist. Discord has since put out a statement, Crystal, and said that these messages do appear to be consistent with the account that was linked to Tyler Robinson some 2 hours before he turned himself in. But again, it remains very unclear what the previous messages that they alluded to even are.
Right.
And to the full statement, the transcript and all of that has not yet been released.
Right.
So, well, look, I want to be clear. We're not alleging conspiracy or any of that. I want to be absolutely clear about that. What we are showing is the rank incompetence here by the FBI, the lack of communication, the raising of questions here legitimately about Kas Patel and the FBI's own handling of this investigation and the relevance that that means for law enforcement matters. And obviously what is a heinous assassination, but also one that is potentially going to be used, as we'll get to just in a little bit, for political purposes. And so that's why the facts on this stuff really matter. And, you know, if we look at these history of these investigations, every single one is more questions than answers. The Trump assassination, we don't know a goddamn thing about him. Case closed by Kas Patel, by the way, and his FBI. I will remind everybody about Vegas. I mean, I'm sorry, there is not a goddamn thing about the Stephen Paddock case that makes a lick of sense. If he had been alive and they had to prosecute him, good luck. Yeah, I mean, things like saying that no video or whatever existed in a Vegas casino. Really? I mean, I could go on forever, really, in a lot of these investigations, all the way back to Waco and everything. So what I'm telling you is not that there is some grand conspiracy necessarily, but that the screw ups, the explanations, etc., have always been a breeding ground for people to, I think, legitimately say what the hell is going on here, and especially if it's going to be used for political weaponization purposes.
Yeah.
Wow, it's crazy. And like you said, like there's no conspiracy as far as outside forces coming in, I think, to do in Charlie Kirk. I don't believe that's the case, but I can see the argument for a conspiracy of errors, a conspiracy of incompetence coming from, you know, the highest levels of the FBI and within Trump's administration. I can see that. You know, and that's where it is. And that's probably why a lot of MAGA people are so upset. And Brother Dino was saying, like, we got Musk and other rich Americans stirring up the right wing clowns over here. Nobody knows Kirk over here like most Americans. Facts. And that's funny. He says, today I heard one MAGA compare Kirk to MLK, which is crazy because there's plenty of video of Charlie Kirk saying that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a bad person. Right. So now you got MAGA comparing Charlie Kirk to Dr. Martin Luther King, which is absolutely no comparison. One guy stood on hate. One guy stood on the fight against hatred and bigotry and racism, right? Two completely different sides of that spectrum. And Charlie Kirk himself, in his own words, is out there on the internet, said that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a bad person. And now you got MAGA people. This is the thing about MAGA, man. They don't think and they don't watch what's going on. They don't really know what's happening, bro. They just, maybe some of these people just haven't seen the videos, and, you know, they saw one or two videos and they're like, oh, this guy's a good guy. And you got to go back and watch the rest. Okay, why are so many people up in arms? You got to go back and look at it. Right. And that's, you know, that's crazy. Again, as I don't agree with the things that he said. I'm talking about Charlie Kirk at all, but I do not believe he should have been, you know, popped in the neck over it either. So, but now I think that's where most blacks in America, most African Americans are with this. It's like, hey, bro, didn't know dude, looked him up, don't like what he was talking about. You know, was sad that he's gone, feel bad for his family and all that. But, you know, a lot of people are like, man, fuck dude. And that's where, you know, that's where we are over here. And MAGA is just kind of but he's a great guy. Like, he was a great guy. Like, not really.
That's exactly right. I mean, when I was scrolling yesterday on Twitter, practically every post was some new theory of like, oh, look at this guy over
Bingo.
here.
Yep.
Look at this video. Look at how he moves his arm. This is the real killer. I mean, like 100 different theories that I saw. So this is already going on. So when you have the government, which first the Utah governor said that there were Discord messages that, you know, where he was effectively planning the shooting. Then Discord comes out and says that doesn't happen.
Yep.
Then Kas Patel says there was a note, but the note was destroyed. But we have evidence of the note. But we got evidence of the note like through our aggressive interview techniques, which, by the way, again, a lawyer, what are they going to say? Well, you got this information under duress. Like, what are we talking about
What
here?
are you saying?
You know,
Exactly.
did you like basically torture this person into giving some sort of a false confession? All of these things are.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be torture. It could have been something as simple as you got this scared person there, whoever they are, and you're just telling them, like, law enforcement, dude, like, we're going to give you the death penalty. We're going to lock you up forever. We're going to lock up your family. We're going to destroy your life. They're just saying stuff like that. That could be enough to, all right, what do you want to hear? I'll tell you what you want me to say. Write it down and I'll sign it. That goes on in the American judicial system.
Going to breed a lot of speculation. And that is exactly what we see unfolding. If I had to guess as to what the hell they're talking about here and how all these wires got crossed, my guess, which is just a guess because you cannot tell from their statements what the hell they're talking about, is that there was apparently, allegedly, some sort of a note, that there was discussion about that note, not from Tyler, but from some of the people that he was, you know, maybe the roommates or whoever, some associates with him. There was some discussion of that note on Discord. Somebody got rid of the note, and the revelations about these messages on Discord were something that the FBI was able to get through their aggressive interview posh. If I had to try to square this mess, that would be my guess as to what's going on, and that could account for like the confusion of what the governor originally said about there being Discord messages about what he was going to do and why he was going to do it. Maybe those didn't come from him. They came from other people in the circle who had seen this note, who were talking about the note. That's the best that I can figure out of what's going on here, but incredibly unclear.
Absolutely.
You know, incredibly unclear. And it's entirely possible that that's what I just said is not remotely even what they're talking about.
Right. And this is what happens when you have poor investigative techniques, you know, actually, you probably have competent FBI agents on the ground trying to conduct an investigation, and they have this Kash Patel dude over their shoulders getting in the way and then releasing information that they don't want released. You know, this Kash Patel guy is going on Fox News trying to make himself look good, I guess, to Donald Trump or whatever, you know, trying to save face, trying to get MAGA off his back so he can keep this cushy job. You know, it could be that, you know, the FBI agents, and this will come out way later. The FBI agents on this case will probably write a book or tell their story and say, yeah, that guy was really hindering our investigation. Let's say that the guy, the shooter winds up getting convicted and has to go away. Great. The FBI agents will then come out and say, yeah, man, we're lucky that this happened this way. We got a positive outcome. But, bro, this Kash Patel dude really made it difficult. There was things that, you know, would have made this a whole lot easier had he not been around. I think we're going to hear stories like that. I have, yes, to answer your question, brother, have I seen the claims that the round hit the bulletproof vest and then went out his body, you know, through his neck? I'm rephrasing that because I'm not sure, you know, the YouTube hot words and all that kind of stuff. I don't believe that's the case. I saw the raw footage, the close-up video, you know, and it is a tough watch, you know, but again, as a former soldier and more importantly, as a guy on the streets, you know, we've seen things. So it was definitely a tough watch. I think that round went in and hit something. I don't know if it may be collarbone, maybe spine, you know, it hit something and then made that radical turn and then exited via the neck. That's what I think. But we have to wait for the autopsy. I haven't seen anything on that. I haven't looked, but maybe I should look. You know, when you get the official coroner's report, they can tell you exactly what happened. If the round went in and struck any other body parts, any bones or whatever, there'll be evidence of that. So and rounds do that, bro. Like you just never know. You get hit by something, man. You just don't know what it's gonna hit. It'll rattle around. The smaller rounds, especially, they bounce around inside you. The bigger rounds, it hit something and exit. That's where you almost always have an entry wound, exit wound kind of thing. Yeah, man. It will all come out in the end. I mean, science and, competent professionals will tell folks exactly what happened. It will all come out in the end.
Exactly right. We need to see the charging documents. People need to stop going on Twitter and Fox News trying to, Kash, let's be honest. What's he trying to do? He's trying to reclaim his reputation because everybody knows he's a clown in the way that he's acting.
He's going on Fox News because of Trump.
Bingo.
He wants Trump to see him on there and Trump to feel like he's doing a good job. The problem is he can't deliver on that ability of seeming like he's competent and in command here.
And Steve Bannon reacted exactly to this. A huge portion of the right going after Kash Patel now, I think very justifiably. Let's take a listen.
And before we get into the Steve Bannon stuff, bro, is another thing that, people of color who rock with MAGA, and I'm talking about MAGA, I'm not talking about the Republican Party, but this might hold true for that party as, Republican Party as well, but mostly MAGA. People of color who rock with MAGA and females who rock with MAGA, if they find themselves in a position of authority, and they screw it up, then the people's true colors come out. Bottom line, they're gonna look at Kash Patel. He doesn't look like them. He's not blonde hair, blue eyes, and they're gonna, say things. Now, here's the thing: how many people are like that? How many people are just so hardcore racist that they can't stand anyone unless they're, white, blonde hair, blue eyes? I would say not many, single digit percentage, very low percentage. But you're going to have other people who won't speak it, but they'll jump all on the bandwagon. Well, I'm not saying it because he's a different color. I'm just saying it. Look, he's doing a bad job. And they're right. He's doing a terrible job. He's doing a terrible job. But, I got to just throw it out there, man. His race is going to play some role in this. Was he placed into the FBI as a token so MAGA could say, look, we have people of color. We didn't want to put a black guy in there, so we put this guy in there. Look what happened with Vivek Ramaswamy, right? Look how they came after him and his wife along the racial lines. A lot of people be getting these wake-up calls, but beyond all that, forget the race and all that. Kash Patel is extremely incompetent. Simple as that. Brother Mandrell's in the building. What's good, fam? Completely incompetent. Let's listen to what Bannon has to say.
Told that the reason that the video and what Michael Savage says and others about jumping off the roof is that he's got a gun in his hand and he drops the gun to the ground, the rifle. That's what when you confront him on that video, it said, "Oh, you guys are missing it. He actually has the rifle. He hasn't taken it apart. He drops the rifle down and then goes hides it." Maybe it's just too fuzzy. I don't know, but the timeline makes no sense. Now they're putting out video that they got the guy walking around in shorts in the, because he had two costumes and walking around, two sets of clothes walking around in the neighborhoods. Yet CNN played today again. CNN played the doorbell video we saw the other day where he's walking stiff-legged like he's got a rifle or a part of a barrel or something in his pants. He's very stiff-legged. They played it again. So clearly that has not been refuted by the authorities. This is why this morning, first off, over the weekend, shifting this now not to a single murder, but actually to an investigation of a conspiracy. And as President Trump says, many investigations. He talked the other day about Soros in an investigation, the Soros involvement, all of it. I think you're going to see a much more sophisticated, much broader investigation into this. 2,000 times I watched that video. I missed it because I'm still missing it. And maybe it's accurate, but I don't understand the doorbell. And the car wasn't impounded. You haven't rolled up any of the Discord chat. It seems like we're being spoon-fed a narrative.
There you go. I think,
and again, the right loves a conspiracy, bro. Now, they didn't take the guy's car into custody and impound it. That's evidence. That's something that has to be fact-checked. Like, bro, they didn't take the car. You want to talk about incompetence? No one thought to take the vehicle that they believed. You would think they would take all the cars. Let's take all the cars at this address. Let's go through these cars and we'll bring them back after we rule them out or something like that. Damn. They didn't take the vehicle. That's something that has to be fact checked for real. Yeah, say Vivek Ramaswamy is running for governor in Ohio. Yeah, I mean, he has a shot. He has a shot in Ohio, you know, because he's well spoken in this and that. He's out of Cincinnati, which is very Democratic, but the rest of the state is very red. We'll see how that goes. That'll be a fun one to watch. Joe Cool's in the building. What's good, fam? Joe Cool, man. Hey, they talking about sending the National Guard to your soil, man. Is the National Guard still supposed to go to Chicago, bro? What's going on with that? And I know Memphis is supposed to be on the list as well, which is hilarious. We can't afford to lower the cost of medications and, like, you know, prescriptions in America, but we can afford to spend over $1 million a day, you know, whenever we deploy the Guard to these different places, to DC. You know, you're looking at what's going on in California. Now they're talking about Chicago. Now they're talking about Memphis as well. It's about $1 million a day, probably per unit, when you send those soldiers out there, you know, guardsmen or whatever. But we can't afford to do other stuff. All this, where we got what's our debt? $35 trillion debt, something like that, and it's only going up. These costs aren't included in that debt. Man, it's crazy, bro. Let's continue.
You know, raising some legitimate questions here. Let's put this up here. This is something that was posted by Steve Bannon, just recapping some of the questions, brief recap. Again, you know, this is not all 100% correct. I'm just showing it to you because this is what was posted by Steve Bannon as to the level of questions and other things that are now being raised about the FBI and the director's leadership. So the main takeaway for all of this is really, in my opinion, rank incompetence. And, you know, yes, Crystal, as you said, there's potentially explainable many of the things that they have said, but that's not how things need to work at the highest level of American law enforcement.
If you're not
and in
gonna be
a court
clear,
of law.
just don't say anything.
Bingo, exactly.
I mean, if you watch the governor, who has been much more like, even he has said some things that aren't true, but he's getting his information from law enforcement at the end of the day. He'll get asked questions where he says, I can't say anything.
I can't get into that for the integrity of the investigation. Okay, great.
Okay. You know, I mean, listen, as a journalist, I would like as much disclosure as possible, but what Kas Patel is doing is not disclosure. Mm-hmm. It's actually muddling and confusing the picture of what we know here. But yeah, I mean, Steve Bannon reposted, we can put that back up on the screen. Steve Bannon reposted this and said, and this is the short list of questions that we have. They haven't recovered the bullet. We're talking about specifically the bullet, the single shot that murdered Charlie Kirk. They haven't presented any video photographic evidence of the alleged shooter with the gun. The closest we get is actually that TMZ released doorbell camera where you see him walking stiff leg, like he's got a gun down his pants, but you don't actually see the weapon. Alleged shooter did not confess to law enforcement, which was something that was very fuzzy at the beginning. It seemed like he was cooperating. We were all surprised to learn that he was not actually cooperating with law enforcement. They haven't presented any pictures or videos of the alleged shooter changing his clothes on the roof, which is contradicted by the photos that have been released. They don't have any physical evidence of, quote unquote, the note, where the alleged shooter allegedly claimed he would have a chance to take out Charlie Kirk. TPUSA staff contaminated the crime scene, removed the camera sitting directly behind Charlie immediately after the shooting. Where is that footage? I don't know if you guys have seen this, but this appears to be true. Pretty shortly after the shooting, you see images of them breaking down the tent and reclaiming their merch and all of that. Well, that's an active crime scene. Like, it's, you know, seems like you would have that cordoned off and you would want to preserve every aspect of that crime scene. But pretty quickly you see staff able to come in and take down the tent. Discord disputes the FBI's claim the alleged shooter discussed any plans to assassinate Charlie Kirk. If true, they'd have data to back this up. We might end up seeing all of this eventually. I hope we do. So far, the evidence that's actually been presented is hardly convincing. This, I think, was put out before Discord did confirm that there were these messages not planning the shooting, but apparently confessing to the shooting. So in any case, that's the picture as best as we have it right now.
So there's a thousand questions, right? And then when you look at like the contrast between the governor of Utah and Kas Patel, you know, reporters have these questions. They'll ask a question, and it's like, I got to ask the question. And the reporter is probably thinking, he's not going to be able to answer this, but let me ask it anyway. You ask the question, and then the governor says, I can't answer that question, or I don't have any information regarding that question. And then that's it. You move on. But you ask the same question to Kas Patel, and he gives you some sort of answer. He says something about the evidence, or something about an interrogation, or something about a crime scene, which the reporter will sit back and like, what? And then that will generate 10 more questions. Like, what do you mean? And then blah, 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 blah. When Kas Patel should say the exact same thing the governor is saying. We can't comment on that at this time. All that will be revealed in the trial when we get to that point. Or maybe we'll be able to cover that in a later briefing. Something. And I've never had any media training from the government. That's just off the top of the dome. Can't answer that. Can't answer that at this time. I have no knowledge of that at this time. Right? I'm not the person that can answer that question. I'll get back to you. Any of those things. But you don't just start pulling stuff out of your butt, man. So look, let's talk about now. There's a lot of discussion about how, and I have some questions too about this. How is it that you're going to break down, a 30-06 style rifle, right? And now, of course, it's out there now that the weapon in question, the suspected murder weapon is a Mauser rifle, chambered in 30-06. So, how did this young man manage to get to the spot where he took the shot? Why is it we don't see a rifle or a big bag that can house or carry a rifle in the videos that we do have? Jumping off the roof, they were saying after the shot was taken, he jumped off the roof, and now he broke the weapon down to get to the spot, takes the shot. He broke the weapon down again to get away, but then he reassembles the weapon and places the weapon in the wood line, and then he leaves. Right? There's so many questions. Well, I found this video, and the link to this YouTube channel is in the description below. This guy, Matt Lauer, I think is his name. I think it is. Anyway, it's in the description below. He has let's look at it. Let's break this down. He has about 1,800 or 18.7 thousand subscribers. Matt Kester, never watched this podcast before. Let me give him a like. Let me subscribe. Never. And that's what we should do, man. Like, share, and subscribe. I've already shared the video. I like the video, and now we are subscribed. This brother was breaking down the theory behind how this shooter managed to get that rifle to the spot, take the shot, and then get away. So I thought this was pretty good. So let's check this out, guys.
To us about the shooting of Charlie Kirk, there have been a lot of questions online about certain aspects of the narrative that were being told. Specifically, how did the weapon get to the murder scene, or to the point where the shooter is alleged to have taken his shot? 2, how did a 22-year-old man with no formal military or law enforcement training perform a 200-yard kill shot with a 30-06 rifle? And 3, how did the weapon get from the spot where the shot was alleged to have been taken to where it was supposedly discovered by law enforcement in the woods in a neighborhood nearby? A lot of people have questioned the video that they've seen, and I'm going to walk through each of these. I shot a video of this.
Now, he does have a video where he actually breaks down the weapon and conceals it while wearing jeans and a T-shirt, and is actually moving around. He actually does a part in that video where he's walking up some stairs. Very compelling video. I'll go back and I'll link that in the description below so you guys can check that out as well. Me and Mandrell talked about this, about, having this type of weapon at that distance and how much training it would actually take to pull off, to fire and score hits at that distance. And, not that difficult to do it, and we both talked about, right now they said the endpoint, the part of the body that was impacted the round actually hit, they're saying was the neck. And I'm here to tell you that I don't know any shooters that's going to aim for someone's neck. They're going to aim for either the head area, but the vast majority, and I'm talking 97%, they're going to aim center mass. They're going to be aiming down here. I believe the kid was aiming center mass and the round went high. That's what I think. Or maybe he was aiming for the head and the round went low. First shot, cold bore. There's so many things here. And this is why I said there was an element of luck. There was an element of luck. Right. And there's a lot of YouTubers out here recreating this shot at that distance with a rifle, a scope rifle, and chambered in 30-06. And I mean, every video that I've seen, they were putting rounds on target. You know, some of them were missed the first round, but they would hit the next 3 or 4, maybe miss the next one. So yeah, it could be done. You don't need specialized training. This is, a sniper shot on training wheels. Like Mandriel was saying, this type of shot for someone with that level, like, Mandriel's a former Green Beret, Special Forces, weapons sergeant. This type of shot for him he could do it all day. He could do it all day. He will put rounds on target all day with various types of weapon. It wouldn't just be this 30-06 round. He could do it with M14. He could do it with M16. He could probably do it with an AK. Right? It can be done. There's Brother Mandriel right there. Shout out to you, brother. Say also, it takes tooling in order to disassemble a 30-06. He didn't have time to disassemble and then reassemble the rifle. Bro, I need you to see this. I thought the same thing. You need to watch this. This guy took apart that Mauser, broke it down into 4 components, which that rifle isn't designed to be broken down like M16s and like the AR styles or the AKs are. But you can break this thing down in like 4 components, bro. Check this out.
Yesterday in my studio, but I think I can better accurately answer it just following along here on my computer, and I'm going to use some of that footage that I shot yesterday to kind of supplant. I happen to have a Mauser rifle, very similar and probably, I believe, similar enough to prove these things that I will use in these demonstrations. So let's start off with the beginning, the infiltration route, or how this individual got to where he was alleged to have taken the shot from with a 40+ inch long rifle supposedly stuffed in his pants. First, we've all seen this video of the alleged shooter walking into the neighborhood on his way in. This is clearly a home security camera looking out from a garage. You see the shooter walking along and he is engaged with a limp here. A lot of people have questioned this video to say that, well, this is an after the shot video. He's limping because he hurt himself when he fell off the roof. And that's not true, and I'm going to show you why. First, take a good look. We're going to go to Google Maps. But we've all seen this footage, or excuse me, this overhead shot of the supposed kill shot. You have Charlie sitting down here at the bottom of this amphitheater, and then you have a shooter approximately 200 yards away on this rooftop here. He's got a direct line of sight directly to the target. He's elevated from the target a little bit, probably 20 or 30 feet above him, but for all intents and purposes, clear line of sight, clear shot. How did this individual get here with that rifle undiscovered? That's what everybody wants to know. Well, I did some internet sleuthing, and if you go up here onto South 800 West and you drop down right here into Street View, you will see this home and you will see this camera. This camera is one and the same from the one that you can clearly see a law enforcement official removing. And this is the camera that I propose is the actual camera that took the video of the gentleman walking across the street. Now, if you turn the Google Street View image, you'll see that it matches up quite a bit. You have this home here, matches this home here matches this home, and so forth. You will notice that in this image, the driveway is not paved. This image, according to Google, was captured in May of 2019. It has since been paved over, but this is the same shot, even down to the basketball court in the background and everything else.
Bro, First of all, Don DeMarco to this brother for putting all this together. Don DeMarco to him. Definitely go over and check out Brother Matt's podcast, man, his YouTube channel, and subscribe and show him some love, a lot of support. This is great information. As a guy who may have done some illegal stuff as a kid, this tells me I would never be considering doing any crime. There are cameras everywhere, bro. These are just home, like Ring cameras and this and that. There's probably not too many places in America that's not covered by some form of surveillance. Like, and over in UK, they just have towers with cameras all over them everywhere. Like, bro, you got to be sharp to be a criminal these days. If you're going to try to commit a crime and try to get away with it, no one can anticipate all these cameras. No one.
Now, the shooter is walking from the left of our screen to the right of our screen with an obvious limp. And we're told that this limp is due to the rifle being stuffed on his person or down his pants in some way. And we'll get to that in a minute. But I want to show you, this is his direction of travel, left to right. And if you look back down the street, you can see the parking structure at Utah Valley University.
Whatever you want to say about this young man, he wasn't stupid intellectually. He was a 4.0 student. He scored like a 35 on an ACT. He would have to be the dumbest criminal on the face of the planet to shoot a man in broad daylight, run away one direction, and come walking back limp in the other.
I propose that he...
And Mandrill, if you're still watching, man, when he gets to the part where he breaks the Mauser down, I mean, that really blew my mind. I've never handled a Mauser. I've only seen them on TV, never fired a Mauser. Whenever I think Mauser, I think World War I, World War II, standard German infantry rifle. But they got, those Mauser, they make different models. So, this kid planned it out. When you look at this dude right here should be on the FBI, team. He should be on this investigation team because he's doing all this stuff just from his house, just using common sense. It shows you that law enforcement really isn't that sharp, and they rely on people telling on themselves. They rely on others telling on people, right? That's how they caught this guy. Keep in mind, the FBI didn't track this dude down. Someone told on this dude. Someone saw the picture and turned him in.
Infiltrated down this route, across the street somewhere, entered this parking structure here that is adjacent to the building that we see the shot supposedly being taken from. I think he crossed this causeway, hopped this fence, and had access to the roof undetected.
And Mandrill, I'm pretty sure you would agree that this kid had a pretty good infill plan set up there. I agree with this brother. His assessment of what happened, he came down that street, he came down that road, crossed the street with that slight limp because he had, rifle parts shoved down his pants, right? Came in probably using the escalator. Because I was thinking, how did the guy get to the roof and not be seen? Like, was he climbing up ladders? There are plenty of ladders around this building that he took the shot from. But no, I didn't know about this adjacent causeway in this building over here. Didn't know about that. That makes complete sense to me. This kid would know because he did go to this school for a semester. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that this kid, looked at the same view and was like, oh, I remember this building. Oh, that's right. I can walk right across this thing, hop this fence, and get right into position to take this shot. So I think the dude is doing it. And now, bro, he did not give himself up. He didn't want to give himself up. He wanted to delete himself. It was his father who convinced him not to take his own life. And with the help of, I guess, a minister who had ties to the U.S. Marshal Service, something like that, that's who arranged for him to surrender himself. But it was a friend of the family, and then allegedly it was his father, and then this friend of the family, this minister, and then he turned himself in. Where I'm pretty sure his dad went with him. They went and surrendered themselves. But it was not the FBI, and it was not local law enforcement.
Now, you may be wondering how I know that he was able to cross this causeway. Well, we'll drop in on another street view here. As you can see, this is the point where in the video before he falls off the roof and runs across this knoll right here. If you look back at this causeway, there's a significant level of handrail and lighting on this. You don't put handrail or fencing on the top of a structure with that degree of lighting and the height of that fencing if you're not expecting regular foot traffic through there. There's laws and codes about this sort of thing. So I believe he somehow came through this structure, gained access to this causeway or this walkway, hopped this fence at this point, and made his way to his sniper perch somewhere in here.
The next criticism that people have now is how that rifle got to the point of the shot. Because the videos that we've seen, you clearly don't see the rifle, you don't see it printing anywhere. And the narrative that we're told is that he had the rifle.
And guys, if you don't know, printing means you can see it below your clothing. So he's saying you can't see it printing anywhere. And what he means is, like, if you take this bottle, for instance, and I put the bottle under me, right? That's printing. Right? You can clearly see that there's some sort of container, looks like a bottle underneath my shirt. So that's what he's saying. When you look at that, it's not printing anywhere.
Stashed underneath his clothing or in his pants. If you take a rifle like this, which is approximately 48 inches long, well, I'm not stuffing that in my pants. There's just no way. It's down past my knee and the butt is still above my nose. In the videos that we've seen shown, we see the individual limping on his right leg. And if you look at his posture in the video, his spine is straight and his knee on his right leg can bend, but he doesn't have a lot of motion at his hip. And I've heard people say online wrongly that he somehow had a folding rifle when clearly the rifle that we've seen has a fixed stock like this. And I've also seen people say that you can't break a Mauser rifle down into a smaller section that quick or that easy, and that's, again, simply wrong. And I'm going to show you. I'm not going to show you how to do it because YouTube likes to have a fit about that, one. And two, I don't want to give a copycat instructions on how to do this.
Fact. So, man, Joe, if you're paying attention, bro, this is the part I really wanted you to see, because you and I talked about this, and I'm like, bro, you know, these type rifles aren't really designed to be broken down quickly. You know, there's no real such thing as, you know, a field strip or whatever to clear malfunctions and stuff like that. At least that's what I was thinking. And this weapon isn't necessarily designed to do that, but at the same time, it's not that difficult to disassemble this weapon and reassemble this weapon, and all you need is a screwdriver. Check this out.
So I'm going to disassemble this rifle, and I'm going to show you the components that it can fall into, and then I'm going to show you how quickly it can be reassembled in situ when you're sitting in a sniper's nest waiting to take your shot. When disassembled, this rifle has a much lower profile. You're now looking at a barrel and a stock that are essentially the same length. And another thing with the Mauser is the scope attaches right on the receiver. So the young man did not have to remove the scope or alter or affect the zero of his rifle in this transportation configuration. I mean, it's essentially four pieces: the barrel and the receiver, the stock, the trigger guard and the magazine follower, and the bolt itself, and some attaching fasteners.
Wow, I'm just kind of looking at this and I'm thinking, did this guy choose the Mauser because he could break it down? Did he have multiple choices? Could he have chosen a Winchester or a Smith & Wesson or whatever, and he chose the Mauser because of this part right here? I wonder.
So he could have easily taken this rifle and now shoved it down his back with, well, let me show you. With this much of the barrel sticking out in the back of his pant leg with no problem. He could have done the same with the stock next to it. And then that backpack over the top of it stopped all of the printing that is associated with having a weapon concealed like that. And this young man, by order of his appearance, didn't throw anything off either, because to anybody outwardly looking at him, he just looked like a clean-cut Mormon boy. Now, this is how I propose he smuggled that rifle in. And once he got into his sniper perch, it didn't take him very long to get it back together. And I'll demonstrate how quick that can be done. And let's pause and take a moment. I haven't really practiced this. I'm sure he may have probably spent a lot of time practicing in preparation for this. I just pulled this rifle out of the case after 20 years and brought it for the purposes of this demonstration. So let's see how quick I can get it back together, okay? Get your stop.
In practice, he's gonna put a stopwatch on this, and the guy's telling you like he's never really practiced this. And I don't know if you people, I don't know if regular folks understand how important practice is, right? In basic training in the United States Army, advanced training, and then just being in my unit with the M16, I have countless hours, breaking down and putting back together that rifle, disassembling and reassembling that rifle, to the point where I think that if I were to go senile, I would still be able to field strip an M16 and put it back together and function check that weapon. That's how it's ingrained. And so if the kid is not going to, practice to that level, but if he spends a few hours just practicing how to, disassemble and reassemble a weapon, he will be able to do it pretty quick. This guy's going to put up, Brother Matt here is going to put up the clock so you can see how long it takes him to do it. Joe Cool, you're right. Even broken down, it's still pretty effing long. That's a fact. It is long, but you can see how it's doable. You can slide that down your pants, and you can see how it will make you kind of walk a little bit funny. And with the backpack on, it's not you're not going to be able to see the printing. So you're concealing a rifle. I never thought that would be a possibility. Again, never handled a Mauser. Didn't know it broke down into 4 components. You got the backpack for the smaller components, bro, and you're just walking around with an American flag on your shirt. And it is what it is. Brother Dino, like, Dio, have you seen the clip of him jumping down from the building? Yep, that's going to be covered in here as well. Keep watching.
Stopwatch ready.
Remember, this guy hasn't really practiced this. He's just putting it together. He's probably done it a handful of times, if that. Just casually doing his thing, putting those components together again and using the fasteners like he said. And he has a screwdriver. That's all he has is a screwdriver. And when you break down any military grade weapon, you don't need any tools. It's all designed to be broken down right there, no tools necessary. So that's why I thought it was impossible. But look, you see him screwing in stuff with the screwdriver, 45 seconds. He's probably just about done. Cool music. Throw your hands in the air, complete drill sergeant. Right? And I believe he did a quick functions check as well. Now I didn't see, well, I don't know. He had the block, so I don't know if that last little bit he actually did a function check on that weapon. I don't know. But you can see 1 minute, 36 seconds. He was able to, 1 minute, 0.36 seconds. He was able to get that weapon back together. 1 minute.
How fast was that? For somebody who had infiltrated into their sniper perch and was comfortable and no one was observing them, this would have been easy to do. Plenty of time. Not a big deal.
It's not perfect. I didn't have time to strap it on and go walk around the neighborhood and give you an indication of how it would have potentially looked, but I think this is a fair bit of proof to at least show the possibility that the narrative that we're being told about how the rifle got to its place of use without being detected is a very good probability. Next, we need to address the issue of how was this young man able to take a 200-yard shot dead on.
Cold bore.
Now, I know instinctively This is 100% within the realm of possibility for almost anybody with a halfway decent bolt action hunting rifle and a modicum of skill. But I'll walk you through a little bit about the 30-06 Mauser and a little bit about how easy this shot would have been for somebody with any kind of experience with a firearm. And to be really honest with you, I could probably teach anyone how to make this shot in an afternoon with a properly zeroed 100-yard rifle.
Now he's going to go into some real marksman stuff. I'm going to skip over this part because what he's saying is 100% true. Go back and watch this. If you want to watch this part, it's very technical. He's just giving you the math behind the shot. And yeah. And the point that I definitely agree with this dude is it doesn't take much time to get trained up to take this type of shot and actually get rounds on target. It can be done. It can be done, especially with a kid who spent a lot of time with rifles. And that's something that was plainly stated, that, they spent time, they being his family, with weapons. So if you're on the range already, you're used to shooting rifles and you're familiar with the zero and you know how to aim and there's no wind and there's a whole bunch of other stuff. Like I said, there's still luck involved. It was one round, one shot on target, cold bore, prone, supported, but not, It's not like it was, you got sandbags and all that. He had that weapon laying on some sort of ledge or something, maybe on the backpack, but it could be done. It definitely could be done. We're going to skip to where he, his exfil skip, jumping off the building with the weapon. Cause I want to answer brother Dino to see that. And, DL, didn't he arrive in his truck? Why didn't he escape in his truck? He arrived in his vehicle. It's like a Dodge Challenger or something like that. So it's gray. The vehicle was parked outside of his parents' home. Once he turned himself in, that's allegedly the vehicle he used. It wasn't. I don't think it was a truck. It was a gray Dodge. So let's skip ahead because it talks about how he made the shot and all that kind of stuff. So let's skip ahead to the missing weapon in the towel.
Now let's walk through probably, I think, one of the bigger points of skepticism and speculation about his exfiltration and how the rifle ended up where it was. Let's look at the FBI's footage of the shooter exiting the roof. You see the individual running across the roof from his point of shoot. He's going to go behind this glass structure on top of the roof here. Now that corresponds with, it looks like his shot was probably from the forward part of the roof in this area here. He ran across, this is the square building structure. We see him run behind here, and he goes to make his jump down or egress from the top of the roof here. You see him running, he's going across the rocks. Now, the FBI punches this in, and this is just a standard security camera. I don't think, judging by the looks of the image, that it's recording in anything higher than a 1080p resolution. Once you punch in, you're losing clarity. Also, these security cameras aren't like your normal camera. It's probably running at a much lower frame rate. That's why the motion looks jerky and fast. They do that so that they can preserve the bandwidth and what they're storing it on so that they can have a longer section of medium. It just is a matter of economy of capturing images. So you're punching in, and I think that this camera, judging by the angle, appears to be, if you use the points off of the buildings where it's square and you got the point right here, let's just follow the trail. Right? We'll make you a line right through it. It's probably on this corner of this building right here.
Hey, dude is really good at this, man, by the way. Shout out to this dude. I mean, God, dog, bro. Don DeMarco. Hey, Brother Dino, he arranged to borrow a rifle from someone, right or wrong. I haven't looked into that, and I haven't heard any reporting on that, but they will. The ATF will tell you exactly the lineage of that rifle, where it was manufactured, You know, how he got into America, who owned it. They will track it back as far as they can. Here in America, like here in Florida, I can go out right now and sell my 6.5 Creedmoor to someone, and I don't even have to have, you're supposed to do documentation and this and that. I think the basic, I think to be compliant with the law, all I have to do is check to see that you're a citizen of Florida, like just ask to see your ID or something like that. Most people don't even do the paperwork. They just sell the weapons. They don't even know the name really of the guy or girl that they're selling the weapon to or buying the weapon from. So at some point, I don't know what the laws are like in Utah. I don't know if they're as loose as they are here in Florida. But like if I sell one of my weapons, you're gonna have to sign. You're gonna have to do the paperwork. We're gonna have to sign the papers. We're gonna do this back and forth. We're gonna do it properly. Because you do something with that weapon, they're gonna come see me because I bought it from the owner, like the gun store or whatever. I'm in the system as owning that weapon. So when law enforcement comes to me, I'm gonna give them that documentation. Hey, this is who I sold it to. This is the day I sold it. This is where I was. If I'm gonna do that transaction, we're gonna do it inside or outside of a police department. So I know there's a camera on it. It was on this day. Yeah, I'll go pull the film. This is when I sold the weapon to that person. This is their name. You know, here's a picture of their driver's license. I'm going through all that. And there are people who are like, well, I don't want to do all that, so I don't want to buy your gun. Fine, don't buy my gun then. But I'm not selling my weapon to somebody and not having the means to track them down. So they're going to tell you everything about that rifle. I don't know if it came from a friend. I don't know if he owned it. I don't know if his father or family owned it. I don't know. We'll have to look into that.
And if we punch into the parking lot, there's your line. You follow it back. I think the camera footage that we're seeing is from this camera right here on the corner of this structure. Okay. That camera is taking an image from approximately 250 feet away, almost a full 100 yards away. And it's a very wide angle, not high resolution camera, or not super high resolution camera. This is, like I said, maybe 1080p. Let me show it to you again in a bigger view. So that's what we've got to go on with this evidence. And now we're punching in and cropping it and losing resolution and quality. We see the individual go to exit the roof. And this is where the contention comes up, because you can't clearly make out the outline of the rifle. And because the frame rate is not great, the rifle may be lost in motion blur or any other artifact or effect that having a camera at this resolution and this frame rate is going to indicate. But there is one telltale sign in here, and if I can get it to go, it's this this moment right here. I've seen other videos where they talk about the towel just being flappy and hanging based on some things that happen when he hits the ground. But this right here indicates a flat horizontal plane and the towel dangling. What I propose is that the rifle is sitting horizontal right now as he goes to set it down, and the towel is merely draped over the top of the rifle. He's still trying to obscure it. He said,
I mean, did you guys see that? Because this was my thing. When I saw this video of this guy jumping off the roof, it's the first thing that popped in my mind, like, where's the rifle? Where's the rifle? And this is why Siger and Crystal were saying, well, he broke the weapon down. People are saying he took the shot, broke the weapon down, right? Which we know it takes about a minute to assemble the weapon, probably less than that, around the same time to disassemble the weapon, right? So like, all right, well, maybe he broke the weapon down, but it's still, like Joe Cool said, it's still long. So, you know what I mean? You still have to have something to hide the weapon, be it, I guess in this case, he used a towel. And you can see where, you had that horizontal plane and then it kind of, had that something's draping downward, right? So it's like, okay, I buy this. I'm like, okay. In fact, this guy should be in charge of the FBI as opposed to Kas Patel. hey, let's get brother Matt in charge of the FBI, because hell, he knows what he's talking about. But let's keep watching.
Sets it down. He proceeds down. He's hanging right here. See if I can back that up a little bit. Go frame by frame.
See, this was the part I'm like, well, if he has a rifle stuffed down his pants and he's going to jump off a building, that's really going to hurt. Depending on how you land, you can really do damage to yourself. So it's like, where's the rifle? I don't see a rifle. I don't see a backpack. That's another thing. Where's his backpack? But with this explanation, this is very grainy footage, but clearly he doesn't have rifle parts shoved down his pants, but he is grabbing for that towel, which is very important. It looks like that towel may be concealing something, may be wrapped around something. This is very, very good. This is a very, very good breakdown of how this could have happened.
All right, this is also where we're starting to see that this individual's clothing and everything can kind of match up to what we've seen. The jeans are a typical blue color. The shoes, you'll see some flashes of white, like those Converse Chuck Taylors on the toe, and he's wearing a black long sleeve shirt and a hat and glasses. There, right there, something long, narrow is poking straight up. I propose that is the rifle as well. He's got it in his hand here. Now the towel comes around because he's still got the towel around the rifle and it's draping. He looks to see where he's going. He releases and he falls. He strikes the ground here, rolls, the rifle hits the ground. He then picks it up in the towel, goes to move. He starts running away, and as he runs, well, we'll get back to the escape end of this because the FBI shows this 3 or 4 times. We hit the ground, and he starts moving. Picks up.
Right. And bro, again, this is a very, very good comprehensive breakdown of how this shooter or alleged shooter could have gotten out of there with the weapon intact. I think the weapon is still assembled. I don't think it's broken down. I don't believe, Mandrell, that he disassembled the weapon. That was the theory that was floated out there, and people like Crystal and Sagar on Breaking Points was like, well, he took the shot, then he broke the weapon down, jumped off the roof, and then he reassembled the weapon so he could hide in the woods. Why would he do that? He wouldn't. I mean, that's the answer to that question. He wouldn't do that. So what did he do? He took the shot, then he got up, and it's time to egress, and he knew it was a matter of time. Like, I got to get out of here. There's chaos where he in the amphitheater where all this is going on, right? That chaos hasn't reached to where he is now. The people beyond where he is are just going about their day. He jumps off the roof. He has the rifle. The rifle is still assembled, fully assembled. And now he's going to make his way to his vehicle, which is parked quite a distance away. So I don't think he reassembled the weapon. I think that he took the shot. Once he assembled the weapon, I think that weapon stayed assembled until it fell into the hands of law enforcement.
Something. He dropped something there. Could have been anything. Now, as he's running, he's struggling to try to get this rifle wrapped back up and concealed because he knows people are going to see it. He runs across this knoll, obscuring himself from view over here. And this is part of the other thing. I don't think he exfiltrated the same way he came in because he saw once that the shot was taken, the crowd was starting to disperse. And if he went across that causeway, he would be in the line of sight of everyone who was there turning around to look for a shooter. We're running. He's struggling to try to keep that firearm wrapped up. And now he's starting to see people. He's going to take that rifle, wrap it up, and bring it closer to his body. And that's why we're not seeing it in the camera view as much, because our resolution's so bad, we can't see the detail. We can just see the outline. And now he's walking. Notice how his left leg is moving here. He's keeping a straight left leg because he's hiding that rifle pressed up against that leg. Now he goes to the intersection.
and stops and waits for traffic. Now, everybody here doesn't know that there's been a shooting yet. Nobody's running away in panic or screaming. This is probably within 15 to 30 seconds of the shot being taken, 45 tops. Nobody in the immediate area knows. He's got a 200-yard head start on everyone who would have witnessed the shooting. He stops, he waits for traffic. That's the end of it.
So all this makes sense to me, guys. All of it makes sense to me. The kid had a plan. He went in there, and like all plans, you're going to have to modify as you get into it. He takes the shot. He realizes, damn, I can't get out of here the way I came in. I don't want to cross that bridge, that causeway. I'm just going to have to jump off the roof. Because to me, that always bothered me. Like, your exfil is to jump off of a roof. Like, bro, you can twist your ankle. You can break your ankle. You can mess your knees up. Like, I mean, I know he's a young guy, but like, damn, that's your plan, to jump off the roof. I mean, yeah, I've been in situations where I've had to jump off of roofs before. You know what I mean? Yeah. And yeah, I didn't twist my ankle, but it hurt. And I didn't have a rifle. So, but I'm like, it seems like the plan went foobar, and he was like, I just got to get out of here. It's flight mode. So he, and he's like, he's got this rifle wrapped up. And then people are like, well, what kind of towel is he using, man? My towel I can't wrap up my 30-06 or my hunting rifle with a towel. You can with a beach towel. Those things are massive, bro. You get you a beach towel, you can wrap up just about anything. So, and he's sitting there struggling to keep that thing concealed, right? Because you got the scope on there. That's like, it's shaped awkwardly, but you got to, when you try to wrap something up and then, you're trying to keep it down, like, oh, let's try to pull this down and all this kind of stuff. He's dealing with all that. You can clearly see him, but it appears that he's trying to keep something concealed and close to his body. So, this kid is a smart kid. This kid is not a trained soldier or an assassin. He just came up with a plan. The plan worked up until a point. Once he took the shot, he's like, oh, my exfil isn't that great. I got to modify my plan. And it works. He got out of there. He managed to go all the way to the south of Utah, bro. He drove, I don't know how many, was it 200 miles or however far it was to get, was it 2 hours, 5 hours, something like that? But anyway, let's continue.
The footage that we get. According to that footage, when he made the crossing of the street, he was somewhere in this area. Now, what I propose is that he somehow crossed the street here and made his way along back towards where I believe the vehicle was stashed. I think he left his vehicle somewhere to the north of where we saw him first walking down this street. I believe that he either got into the woods here along the backside of this UVU Army ROTC in an attempt to mask himself in the woods so that he wasn't seen by passerbys. Now, you see the video later of him as a dot just running through this field here. Okay, I'll take you to the other footage and show you why I think this is how the gun ended up where the gun was supposed to have been found. He came along this wood line and he got onto this path right here and he ran through back into this field. This opening would have been the line of sight between that camera here and where we see him running through a field. I think he got up somewhere around in here. We haven't been told exactly where it was found, but I think what had happened was by the time he got to here, he was starting to see people who were aware of the shooting coming near him or in that vicinity. And he couldn't make the trip from cover to his vehicle without being observed with the rifle. So he stashed the rifle to get in his vehicle and drive away. Then
Makes complete sense. Makes complete sense. Right? And you're looking at, like, when you're looking at this photo, guys, like, we're looking at this photo. And I don't know if you guys can see my cursor moving around the screen. You probably can't. Let me check this other feed that I got. But when you look at the cursor, there are plenty of places he could have parked his car. But he's getting out there, right? He's getting out there. Just kind of look at this. He goes through this field, right? And, he's trying to figure out, okay, I got to get rid of this weapon because there are people moving around. By this time, folks know, like they know, like, there's been a shooting. People know it. And his thing is like, man, let me get up out of here. Right? When you look at this broader picture, like that's the up here towards the top of the screen. That's where that open field was. But look at all this stuff over here. There are plenty of places to stash that car of his to get out of there, bro. Plenty of spaces. Right? So let's continue.
Somewhere around in here. We haven't been told exactly where it was found, but I think what had happened was by the time he got to here, he was starting to see people who were aware of the shooting coming near him or in that vicinity. And he couldn't make the trip from cover to his vehicle without being observed with the rifle. So he stashed the rifle to get in his vehicle and drive away.
Now, if his rifle was disassembled, this wouldn't be a problem. He just would have limped to his car, just like he limped to the school, right? So I believe, like Brother Matt here in this video breakdown, this excellent breakdown, the rifle was assembled, right? The law enforcement said they recovered a screwdriver on the roof at the spot where they suspect the shot was taken. So the shot was taken, bam, again, this is like Emmanuel said day one. This is amateur hour. He takes the shot. He probably surprised the hell out of himself that he actually hit his target. So he sees he hit his target. He sees the target go down. He's going to panic a little bit like, oh, I got to get out of here. Grabs the weapon, grabs the towel, wraps it up, and moves on. I don't know if he still had the backpack. No one's talking about the backpack. But law enforcement said they recovered a screwdriver on the roof with his fingerprints on it, allegedly. So fast forward to him in the wood line with this rifle. Let's say he still has his backpack. He has this rifle, and he's probably in the woods, probably took a knee, got a little bit of concealment there, and he's looking for that screwdriver. This is just my speculation. He's looking for that screwdriver. Ah, damn, I left a screwdriver. So I can't break the weapon down. I can't shove this thing down my pants. I just got to leave the weapon here. I got to get to my car. Again, he's like, I got to get out of here. It's flight. I'm just going to leave it here. And then he broke concealment, went to his vehicle and got out of there. Of course, by this time, everyone knew there was some sort of shot. There's breaking news everywhere. Twitter was going crazy, right? And, local news is probably about to break with this story. He's like, I got to get out of here before all that happens. Because in his mind, he's thinking, man, they're going to lock down the roads. Let me get on the freeway.
He exfiltrated, drove the 250 miles down to St. George area.
250.
And we all know how the rest of this played out. But to me, this presents a plausible supporting explanation to what we're being told. And whether we're being withheld information because it is the FBI and law enforcement trying to protect the integrity of whether they're trying to protect the integrity of their investigation, or they're just so busy doing this that they don't have time to come back to the rest of filling in the pieces, and we may get something a little bit later down the road. I don't know. But I do believe that the person that we have seen in this video is the person that they allege to be the shooter, and this narrative can be corroborated with just a little bit of your own internet sleuth work. If you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear them. If you have any other ideas or any other supporting evidence you'd like to throw in this, or anything else you'd like a little bit more information on, go ahead and leave it in the comments. Thank you. That
brother did an outstanding job. Outstanding job indeed. Don DeMarco to him. That makes sense to me. That makes sense. There are no multiple kill teams. There's no professional hit going on. There's no conspiracy. There's a weirdo kid who's very smart, who had access to a rifle, who did this thing. That's it. And looking at like, bro, the FBI had nothing. And this guy right here, this brother Matt, was able, just with information available online, put together this whole scenario, which makes complete sense. Complete sense. There are far less holes in this theory than what's being put forth by the FBI, by the media, and all this other kind of stuff. All the smoke and mirrors out there. Here's a guy who just sat down, thought it through. Let's look at this stuff. Let's see how far this is from that. And oh, look at this. It's like a bridge. What is this? Oh, this is a causeway. Okay, that's how he got up there. He hops this fence. Right. Again, the shooter would know these things because he went to that school for one semester. So, it's like he kind of knew his way around. He knew the lay of the land. Right. He goes up there, gets a weapon. What weapon do I use? Oh, I could break down a Mauser in less than a minute. This all makes sense to me. I mean, I had no idea. Again, my 3.6 Creedmoor, bro, I don't know how to break that thing down. It would take me forever. I mean, I have to take some time to figure it out. And I don't think it breaks down into 4 components like that. So this theory is extremely believable. I think this is how it went down. And it wasn't the FBI. It wasn't CSI. It was some brother in his office somewhere in America using his computer and common sense to figure out how this shooter, this young guy, was able to do this thing, was able to commit this horrible murder. I'm looking at it and I'm like, bro, fire. Shout out to him. And if you guys are watching this, definitely I linked his video in the description below. He has another video. Let me see if I can find it. When he was actually walking around with the weapon in his pants, bro. Let me just send him a quick, great video, brother. Give me a second. Exclamation points. I'm just gonna send him that comment. That was a great video. So let's go to I'm gonna go to his channel, and I want to pull up the video. Here it is, right here. This video is 16 minutes.
When the news first broke about the Charlie,
this video is 16 minutes. We already did the weapon breakdown, so I'm gonna skip that. We're gonna go right to the conceal test that he did. Let me pull this up for you guys. So, and again, this is the Mauser. This guy just so happened his father owned a Mauser. He's like this, or his father or grandfather, something like that. He's like, this thing is it's like a 60-year-old weapon. I think he was saying, pulled it out of the closet, broke it down for this video. So just check this out, bro. We've already seen him break down the Mauser. So let's look at the concealment test. How would it look if you put these parts down your pants? No diddy.
let's get the most important thing out of the way. You could theoretically take the shot without the stock. All you really need is this and the bolt. You wouldn't want to hang on to it, but it's possible. So let's get the first thing out of the way. I'm assuming that since this was the longest piece and that it was causing so much hiccup and his giddy up, that this is probably maybe what was sitting on his right leg. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw it in my pants here. I took my belt off. I don't know if the individual was wearing a belt. It would have certainly aided in his ability to keep this stuff contained.
I guarantee you he had a belt just to keep it being secure to him.
When you do see him walking, he's kind of, this arm is not moving. It's kind of pressed close to his body like he's squeezing with his armpit. And I have the scope and the receiver right underneath my armpit right now. And let's see what my walk looks like. I wonder if I can zoom you guys out further. All right. Right now, as it sits, the muzzle of the rifle is just below my knee, which would go to the fact that we saw him moving with no hip movement, but he was still able to move his knee. I can still bend my knee. And the walk was very slow and deliberate.
I mean, that you can look at that and say, well, I can kind of see the barrel, DL. I can kind of see it. Yeah, but we know to be looking for it. It's not printing a lot, right? And again, he's not wearing a belt. I would guarantee the shooter had a belt on. I would have a belt on just so I can get help keeping that thing secure to my side. You just tighten that belt, and now you don't have to use your free hand to kind of hold it in place. The belt is going to hold it in place. So I think that, and it's yeah, I agree. Like you can see it printing a little bit, yes, but we know to look for it. If you're not looking for it, you're not going to see it. It's not like it's extremely obvious.
With no arm motion. Okay? This very well could have been how the barrel and the receiver action was stashed. As far as printing on it, let me get a little closer to you and look. Can you see anything apparent on the outside of me? Now, we have seen some video of him, or the still images. We didn't see video, but stills when he was approaching stairs and his arms were out. I do have my arms out, and the barrel and the receiver is not falling down. I wouldn't want to move very much like that, but it's possible. Now, the stock is significantly thicker than the barrel and the receiver action, especially back here at the butt. This is going to be a little trickier. I wonder if it can go in this side. And under the arm. Let me pull it back up under. Okay. Now, according to the photos, the mugshots, this gentleman was 72 inches tall or 6 feet. I am somewhere between 5'10" and 6 foot, depending on what pair of shoes I'm wearing and what convenience store I'm leaving that day. He's also a lot thinner. I'm a more husky individual, obviously, but with his thinness, this may have been an advantage because if you look, the shirt does have some drape down here in the photos. Now I have the rifle stock in here. See if I can turn it flat to my chest. Okay. Now, I have the rifle stock. The butt is sitting right in the crevice of my armpit. And the end of the foregrip is, you know, the dead leg spot on your quad? I think about 4 inches shy of that. Now, let's see what that looks like.
And yeah, again, you can see a little bit of printing there. And no, he didn't like this very well, but I mean, that's to be expected. It's all good. You can see enough, like, you know, and if you're having trouble seeing it on this, just go back and look at the original video. But you can't really see. Yeah, I could drop the link for this real quick, man. Hold on, here it comes. You can't really see the rifle. And then when you look at it, you know, he goes across that causeway, that bridge, he gets to the fence. He's not going to climb over anything with the rifle stock and the barrel on either side of him. So what happens? He's going to, you know, pull out the rifle stock, throw it over, pull out the barrel, throw it over the fence, jump the fence. It won't take long to do all that. Once he gets to where it needs to go, he can have that stuff out, throw it over, and then jump over the fence. And then, you know, yeah, is that a moment of vulnerability? Like he's in the open. Should someone see it? Someone could see it. Obviously, no one did see it. At least they haven't come forward to this point. But yeah, bro, let's continue.
From the front, is there any indication that you got that? How's my movement? I'm moving. Let's look at it from both sides and see how much printing we get. How I move. I think that may be part of the limp, was that he was trying to move without printing the rifle. I don't know what you can see down here or how it looks on my hips. Maybe compare that to the photos that we saw. Now, one thing I can't do, I can't extend this leg out to the left. I can extend this one about that far before the stock starts biting on my hip, or excuse me, on my mid thigh. Now we have the backpack. Let's add the backpack to the mix. I don't know how big this guy was torso length. He was probably similar to me, a little bit smaller. I also don't know how big that backpack was, but if you can see, and I'll have to go look in the mirror because I'm not reviewing this, but I can move like this. Now I don't know how the stairs, we do have him going upstairs. I wonder what that looks like. Should we go out in my stairwell here and look? Okay. So we've seen photos of him on the stairs. We've never actually seen video of it, but
we got better lighting here, so you can see printing there a little bit on I would say his right side, our left side, looking at the screen. But again, if you're not expecting someone trying to sneak in a rifle, that's not going to jump out at you. And there's no security out there. It's not like he had to worry about making it through checkpoints. There wasn't layered security there. He's well outside the perimeter they had set up. The perimeter was only in an amphitheater, apparently, or allegedly, I should say. So, nah, bro, I can't tell that he has a rifle shoved down either side of his pants in this video. This is better lighting.
I'm going to go up these stairs. See how it was, because in that one couple of shots, like he's got his arms out. He's walking up the stairs. It's not out of the realm of possibility that you can walk.
So after having chewed over this in the edit for a while,
So he just kind of went with his conclusion there towards the end, bro. Again, great stuff, man. Great stuff. And man, Joe, I'm gonna drop you the other video as well. Here it is. Filling the FBI gaps. This guy really did. He really did fill the FBI gaps. I mean, wow. So let me drop this one in as well. But again, this one is already in this video. The first video we watched is already in the description below. I'm going to add the second video to the description below. And that's it, bro. I mean, right there, Brother Matt showed us how it would be possible for a shooter to commit this crime, to, infill and exfil without being seen and make it all the way back home, which was like 250 miles away. This was very spot on. Israel is ran by killers and criminals. So is America, bro. So is Russia. So is the UK. So is every nation on the planet, bro. The thing is, there are people out there who want, like I said, it's a lot less scary if there's a big conspiracy behind something like this. When you look at something like this and there's just a weirdo who's smart enough to figure out how to get a rifle and go commit this crime with a little bit of luck. I'm telling you, that was a lucky shot. That was a lucky shot, bro. You can get this guy and put him back on that roof, give him some sandbags, give him a better supported position, and he would not be able to hit this shot, bro. I'm telling you, he's not going to be able to hit that shot. There was a little bit of luck involved. But the rest of that stuff was planning. He got out, right? He did his thing. He blended in. All this talk about, them, and it was the left, it was radical, it was this and that. Hey, bro, it is what it is. And by bro, I mean everyone out there. I'm just saying, hey, guys, you got a weirdo with a gun. He got off a lucky shot and he killed someone. That's what it was, bro. That's what it was. And, you're going to continue to hear these conspiracy theories because that's what people want to believe. They want to believe conspiracies. Right? I mean, it just is what it is. You know what I mean? The guy got lucky. The first shot, cold bore shot from a Mauser, 30-06 at 200 yards, and he scores a hit here. Man, that's luck, bro. That's luck. It's pure luck. That's all that was. It was unlucky for Charlie Kirk. And it was a very lucky shot for the guy who pulled the trigger. Now we need to get Kas Patel out the way so they don't screw up the case. Kas Patel needs to sit back and let the investigators do their investigating and let them, handle everything appropriately with chain, what do you call that? The chain of custody, and make sure everything's documented and make sure everyone's getting Mirandized and make sure you're getting everything done on video. The fact that, Steve Bannon said they went to this guy's house and they didn't take the vehicle that they believe he used to drive up to commit this crime and drive back. They didn't seize that vehicle. What? That's just incompetence. If that's true, that's just incompetence. Right? Point blank, period. And there's another video out there. I'll do a DL short on that. I'll do a short one just to show. There was a guy, I forget the name of the guy's podcast, YouTube channel, but he went out. He took a 30-06. I forget what type rifle it was with a basic scope. He got on a roof somewhere. He ran a target out, 200 yards. And I want to say he fired maybe 6 rounds, 8 rounds. He missed the first one. I mean, then he hit like 3 or 4 straight. He might have missed the last 2 or something like that, because he was surprised that he hit the target. He didn't think that he hit any of the targets. The first one definitely missed. And then the rounds he followed up with, bro, he was putting rounds on target. And this is a guy who was saying, I don't think I'll be able to do it. And he did it. Right. So it just takes a little bit of practice. Right. You go out there, you choose the right bullet. Right. And again, with this particular guy, I think he just got lucky, y'all. He just got lucky. Right. He didn't compensate for the wind. That's a fact. But they said it was at that time, there was just happening. No wind was blowing into an amphitheater, right? Surrounded by buildings. I mean, just wind would be, you would think, swirling around. It just wasn't, but you're right. He didn't compensate for wind. That's why he hit the neck, and he was obviously aiming for the head. Mandriel was saying that. I was thinking if he was aiming for the head and the round went low, or maybe he was aiming center mass and the round went high. That's what we were talking about day one. And like we said from the beginning, yeah, it's definitely like we said from the beginning. He was aiming for the head, like we said from the beginning, right? And it is what it is, right? And at that distance, you need to be trained on how to compensate for the wind. I don't even think there was any indicators down there that he could even see if the wind was blowing. It was a blind shot. It was a lucky shot. The kid probably didn't think he could do it. I know it was they had one of the experts on one of the media shows when this first happened, and the expert said, he was like, yeah, bro, he's looking through that scope. He got off that round, and he said at the time, but like the shooter probably surprised himself. He was probably surprised to see that first round found his target, and it found his mark. And he's probably looking through that. He saw it. And he's like, oh, this kid probably really didn't even want to do it. Be honest with you. A lot of these weirdos, man, they'll do some shit, and it's like once it happens, and they're like, oh. So, like, it's a 200-yard shot with a 30-06. Why is everyone so surprised? Because people don't shoot, bro. People don't shoot. Right? I take that 308 round. I take that M14 out, man. I'm confident if I can see it, I can shoot it. That's how confident I am with the M14. And that's iron sights. I don't even have that weapon scoped. Right? If I had that weapon scoped, bro, like, please, I know I could touch you. 200 yards, no problem. No win? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, can I do it as soon as I lay down, cold bore shot, first round of the day, I'm going to put it on target? Nah, I don't think so. That's crazy. That's when, the experts can do it. But I'm like, bro, I'm no expert when it comes to long range shooting like that. But that bullet is so heavy, man. So anyway, that's it. That's all we got, bro. That's the latest on this. And for the people who are looking for the conspiracy theories, I mean, there's going to be plenty for you to find out there. Keep looking. If that's what you want, just be sure to put your tinfoil hat on. But when it comes to just good old fashioned common sense investigative work, which is what this guy Matt did. Brother Matt did a great job putting this together. This is how a smart weirdo with a rifle can get a kill shot from 200 yards. This is how it could be done and get away from the target area. This is how it can be done. Simple as that. Simple as that, man. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I got to run. It's time for me to go get my daughter. It's school week. I'm into the school week. Appreciate you guys rocking out with me, man. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I definitely enjoyed bringing it to you. And we'll be back at 5 o'clock. We're going to be talking about that Hollywood thing. I need to get that show out of the way before I don't even want to do it anymore. So we're going to talk about the Hollywood casting couch. We're going to talk about what's going on with Tyler Perry and the man who accused Tyler Perry of trying to use the casting couch on him. Some inappropriate stuff going on. We're going to talk about that tonight. Tomorrow, we'll be back talking about this case. We're going to have to definitely follow this case. I really hope that Kas Patel doesn't blow this thing for the government, because everything he's doing is going to come up in the court of law. And if you get a defense attorney who's halfway decent, he's going to be able to get a lot of the evidence thrown out. I think what the government is hoping for is the guy will cop to a deal. Just say, hey, man, we know we got you. Just cop to this deal so we don't have to waste all this money in court. The kid hasn't said a word. So he's probably planning to fight this thing. It is what it is. I appreciate you, man. Please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Tell your friends. And if you're so inclined, if you got a couple dollars, man, don't be afraid to hit that tip thing. Hit that tip thing, man, and just send $1 or $2. Because there's some equipment I definitely want to get. I could use the help, but I understand the economy is jacked up. So I ain't mad. You know, if you don't have any spare dollars, man, I understand. Keep your money. Just do me a favor and share, like, and subscribe and keep doing that sort of thing. I appreciate y'all, man. And Brother Dino, man, thank you so much. Brother Mandrell, everyone who was here. Steve Allen, never seen you before, but hey, welcome. But yeah, man, I don't think this is a conspiracy, bro. I'm not saying you're wrong. Iran is run by Israel is run by killers and criminals, but so is the United States of America, bro. So is Russia. So is the United Kingdom. So is Germany. So is fill in the blank. It is what it is. But if you're looking for conspiracies, bro, there'll be plenty of theories out there for you to jump on. So that's it. That's all I got, man. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you tonight, 5:00 Eastern Standard Time, right here. And we're going to be talking about the casting couch in Hollywood, and then we'll get back to this story. Also, I want to talk about what's going on in Venezuela, man. What could be happening there? What that can lead to? There's so much to talk about, bro. The economy is still shaky as I don't know what, bro. It's so much to talk about. We're going to get into it, guys. I'm DL Saint. This is I Really Want to Know podcast. I'm going to talk to y'all later. Peace.
Nothing like I've ever seen. It's just a thing of beauty.
Darn, that's the end.